Today, we're cracking open the economic playbook. We're talking about the fundamental rules that guide, well, pretty much everything, from our own personal budgets all the way up to major corporate strategies. We're going to see how these big ideas become the smart decisions that shape our world. So let me ask you a question. What on earth could your morning coffee possibly have in common with a billion-dollar merger? I mean, one is this tiny personal choice, and the other is a massive market-shaking event. And yet, they are both governed by the exact same principles. That's right. They're both driven by the same set of hidden economic rules. And in the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly what those rules are and how they operate, starting with your own wallet and going right up to the corporate boardroom. All right, first up, let's start with you. We'll call this the personal playbook. Because really, before we can even begin to understand the whole economy, we have to understand how a single person makes a single choice. The first and maybe the most fundamental rule is that we all face trade-offs. You've heard it a million times. There's no such thing as a free lunch. To get one thing, you almost always have to give something else up. Think about your time. Do you study for an exam to get a better grade, or do you work an extra shift to earn more money? You can't do both at the same time. That choice, that's a trade-off. And this leads us right into the second principle, opportunity cost. The real cost of any decision isn't just the money you spend, it's the value of the next best thing you gave up. The college example is perfect for this. The opportunity cost of going to college isn't just the tuition and books. It's also the salary you could have been earning for those 4 years. That lost income is the true cost. So how do we make these choices? Well, the third principle is that rational people think at the margin. Now that sounds complex, but it's super simple. It just means we make decisions by comparing small, incremental changes. Should you study for 1 more hour? You instinctively weigh the marginal benefit, a slightly higher grade, against the marginal cost, like 1 less hour of sleep. If the benefit outweighs the cost, you do it. That's thinking at the margin. And the fourth principle for personal decisions? People respond to incentives. An incentive is just something that motivates you to act. For example, when apple prices go way up, you have an incentive to buy fewer of them. But on the other side of that, the apple orchards have a huge incentive to hire more workers and grow more apples. Incentives are what drive behavior on both sides of every single transaction. So that's how individuals think. But we don't live in a vacuum, right? The next set of principles explains the rules of the game for when we all start interacting with each other. Okay, here we've got 3 key ideas. First, trade makes everyone better off. It allows people and even whole countries to specialize in what they do best. Second, markets are usually a fantastic way to organize all this activity. This is what the economist Adam Smith called the invisible hand, where our individual self-interest can actually lead to good outcomes for society. But, and this is a big but, markets aren't perfect. So third, sometimes governments can step in and improve things by fixing what are called market failures, like regulating pollution or enforcing contracts. Okay, we've gone from the individual to the group. Now let's zoom out one last time to the really big picture, the entire economy. At this huge economy-wide level, there are 3 giant forces at play. First, a country's standard of living is all about its productivity, its ability to produce goods and services. That's it. Second, inflation, that general rise in prices, is usually caused by a government printing too much money. And third, in the short term, policymakers are always facing this trade-off between keeping inflation down and keeping unemployment low. These are the big picture rules that governments and central banks deal with every single day. So we've just covered the 10 fundamental principles of economics. But now for the pivot. How do we take these kind of abstract rules and use them to make actual real-world business decisions? In other words, how do we turn these principles into profit? The answer lies in a field called managerial economics. Think of it as the bridge that connects those core theories we just discussed to the practical, messy problems a manager faces every single day. So, what is it exactly? Well, managerial economics is all about applying those microeconomic principles, things like opportunity cost and thinking at the margin, to help businesses make the best possible decisions. And the ultimate goal? To help the company succeed, which, let's be honest, usually means maximizing profit. So what does that actually look like in practice? What's really in the manager's toolkit? Come on, let's take a look at how these theories get put to work. This right here, This is the golden rule of making a profit, and it comes directly from that thinking at the margin principle. A manager should keep increasing production as long as the extra money they make from one more unit, the marginal revenue, is greater than the extra cost to produce it, the marginal cost. That sweet spot where profit is as high as it can be is the exact point where those two are equal. Hey, remember how we said markets organize activity? Well, the type of market a business is in is absolutely crucial. A good manager has to understand their competitive environment. I mean, if you're in a market with tons of rivals selling the exact same thing, you have zero power over your price. But if you're a monopoly with no competitors, you have total control. This one factor can literally dictate a company's entire strategy. And believe me, the manager's toolkit is huge. It's not just about that one golden rule. Economic principles are used for everything: analyzing customer demand, calculating all your different costs, developing clever pricing strategies, and making those huge long-term investment decisions. Every single tool in this kit is just a direct application of the core principles we talked about. So we've come full circle, from a simple choice to a complex business strategy, all governed by the same set of rules. Which brings us back to you. After watching this, I want you to think about that very first principle we discussed. What is the opportunity cost of how you're going to spend your next hour? What's the next best thing you're giving up to do it? Something to think about. Thanks for watching.